MIDDLEKAUFF! Hey!
Start with.
Well, I got a stat here. Jimmy Garoppolo is 14-4 as an underdog in his career as a 49er, and they win those games by an average of 9 points. One thing that's pretty clear is when the Niners have been underdogs, they've come to play. And they've lost some games. And I think part of the reason over the last several years when they've lost some of these games, it's really been a kick in the dick because they've been favored. But Jimmy G and Kyle as underdogs, they can get undervalued fast. Now, I think the key to both NFC underdogs, and we got some cash on them both, obviously Jimmy and Stafford are different players, but they both turn the ball over a lot. And when I think Jimmy Garoppolo, they were last week when he threw that fourth quarter pick, which was classic Jimmy Garoppolo, and it looked as bad as it can look. He fucking hits the guy in stride, up multiple scores. I don't think they can afford, because they're not going to be up. I have a hard time seeing them up 2 scores in the fourth quarter. If you might be down 3, and this is where the Tennessee game happened. You can't turn the ball over in the second half. Like I can't say don't turn the ball over. Jimmy turns the ball over. Can you throw the pick in like the first quarter? Because to me, if you throw the pick or you have the fumble, which he had one of the worst fumbles that you'll ever see in the first matchup, in the second half of this game, like if it's 14-14 and you turn it over in 20, like that might be the game. Like that's the game. To me, if he's gonna turn it over, it has to be in the first half. As crazy as that sounds, like a turnover's coming. Like I can't go a game like he's just gonna three touchdowns, no picks, no fumbles. Like that's not the case. And maybe remember back with the Kaepernick drop pick in that game, it was so cold, it might be harder to catch. Now Colin threw way harder than Jimmy. Other thing is Jimmy's picks sometimes are on lobs where it's like the guy can just catch it with ease. So even if it's negative 50 degrees, you can catch it in stride. The turnover thing. I have a hard time seeing them in a tight game against an elite team overcoming a turnover. Now, just the big picture, and this is just football 101. They cannot, like the turnover battle last time they played them and they lost by 2 points was 2-0. You can't have a turnover battle where you lose by multiple. And to me, can they get? I can't count on Aaron throwing a pick, but can they get a fumble? Like, can they just get gifted a turnover?
Yeah.
And, they got a couple when they played Stafford because he threw them the ball. Well, I don't know if that's coming against this guy. But can, A.J. Dillon, someone strip him? Or, can something like that happen? And if that happens, to me, even if the turnover battle is just even, but I can't see them overcoming that. Muff punts, too. I get very nervous with the punts.
Yeah, the special teams, to your point, we could probably find it. I don't think it's that hard to find how the Niners defense does after a Garoppolo turnover or just after a turnover in general. Specifically, when you talk about lobs, like don't let it be like Kyler Murray's first interception the other day. Don't let it be pick sixes. Because I actually think my theory would be the Niners defense actually plays pretty well after Garoppolo turnovers. There have been some turnovers down the stretch that you thought were backbreakers, and then the defense would step up. But the number one thing is, does Jimmy play a clean game? So I think it's a great key.
Yeah, to me, this is pretty, basic. But when they run the ball, and you look back at that first game, Trey Sermon was their starting running back, and they didn't have much success on the ground. Now, granted, they were down, so they had to come back throwing the ball. If they can get to that just 120, 130 mark, like they don't need 170 yards because these playoff games should be a little lower scoring, especially the longer you go in these freezing cold environments. Because to me, if you run the ball effectively, you control the clock, you slow down the game, you keep the MVP off the field, and you got a chance. That's basic Kyle Shanahan, but like Elijah Mitchell.
But it's also basic Matt LaFleur.
For sure. But I would say the Niners are very good against the run, where the Packers are not.
But the Packers were pretty good running the football the first meeting. They were 4 yards a carry. They were effective early in that game running the ball, partly because you're so terrified of Aaron Rodgers beating you over the top. And you're going to be scared of Aaron Rodgers beating you over the top again in this game. Aaron makes it hard to get to him, right? You're not playing Stafford, who made mistakes. You're certainly not playing the Cowboys, who missed opportunity after opportunity. You're playing a button-down operation, who plays the kind of game that the Niners themselves want to play. The Packers are third in the league in yards per drive. They're second in the league in points per drive. They are number one in time per drive. Their average drive is almost 3.5 minutes long. And they lead the NFL. I know this stat stopped being popular probably around the time Chip Kelly was running offense at Oregon, in time of possession. The Packers lead the league in time of possession. Even though them and the Niners both play a ton of close games. Packers played in 8 single-score games, not counting the week.
I think time of possession in the NFL, maybe not in college, but I think in the NFL, time of possession still matters.
Well, the Packers played in 8 one-score games, not counting their Week 18 game against the Lions. I threw that game out. Niners played in 9 one-score games. Niners were 4-5. Packers were 6-2. I think particularly, John, when it's 1 degree on your sideline, like I'd like my offense I don't want my quarterback over there just standing there for 9 minutes. But that's what both these teams want to do. And I do feel like a lot of Packer games I watch, the fourth quarter is spent with the camera crew constantly cutting to Rodgers, standing on the sideline. It happened last time the Niners and Packers played. The Niners thought they had just driven down the field to win the game, right? But this team controls the ball. They ran it well against the Niners last time. My number one stat in this game is the Niners' third down offense. I think the Packers are going to move the ball and be able to score. We know the Niners can score. The Niners, the last 2 weeks, I think the number one reason they've beaten the Rams and the Cowboys is they have converted third downs. Garoppolo has converted third downs. They are 56% on third down the last 2 weeks. Coming into the Rams game, they were 39%. They have been above their heads on third down the last 2 weeks.
I mean, just off the top of my head, a lot of, because they were successful running the ball, it's not 3rd and 10. I mean, they didn't hit a couple of those.
They've had a few of those. Juwan Jennings online.
But I would say they were hitting a lot of like 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 2s. It's a lot more conducive to their success, right? When you're gaining yards on 1st and 2nd down, fucking slamming the ball. I mean, the one drive, they went 10 plays, they were in a lot of 3rd and shorts. And if that's the case, that's when the Niners offense is successful. Because unlike the Packers, they can't afford to live in 2nd and long, 3rd and long. Jimmy's not built to succeed like that. Because that leads to you throwing it 32 times, not 24 times. Jimmy's line of delineation to me is pretty big. Even though if you just say 30 attempts or 25 attempts, it doesn't sound like that. 5 extra attempts, that's a couple batted balls bouncing around. That's a Jair Alexander pick, right? There's, to me, just thinking out loud, I didn't even think, if they can keep his attempts in the low 20s, they got a shot. They got, the Cowboys, the reason they have no shot looking back, Dak's throwing it like he's Patrick Mahomes. What are we doing? Where Rodgers can do whatever, right? If Rodgers has a game where he's 21 or 24 and they're running the ball, fine. If he's got to throw it 38 times, they don't care. I think the Niners clearly care because their formula, I'm with you on the third downs, but it does feel like their third downs, when you were successful running the ball, and the analytic people hate it, like, why you run the ball on first down? Because Kyle's like, I gained 6 yards, and then I'm on 2nd and 4, and then worst case scenario, even if we fuck up, I'm on 3rd and 2. Where if Packers like, 3rd and 11, we'll just throw it to 17, whatever. We'll get it.
Yeah, and that's where I think the time of possession not so much matters for the Packers. I think they're going to get theirs. But I think it does matter in the sense that, okay, Niners, are you 4th and 2 on the first, 4th or 3rd and 4th down of this drive when you're on your own 38? Or are you 4th and 2 on the 7th play of the drive when you're on the Packers 31? Right? That makes a big difference. Where are your third downs and where are your 4th down play? If your 3rd and 7 is at your own 22-yard line, that's a major problem because you got to get 8 yards and you might have to make a dangerous throw and it's not 4-down territory. Well, if you're 3rd and 7 at the Packers 28, that's not as much of a problem because that could be 4-down territory for Kyle. So,
fascinating to see which coach is, I think Kyle's strategy is pretty clear, but could LaFleur get a little tight as a play caller? He's got some pressure. This is, to me, this game, I mean, they were the 1 seed, the Rodgers drama, last year, the elephant in the room was, remember, he kicked the field goal instead of going for it on 4th and whatever it was, 4th and goal at the 8. There's a tangible, their goal is to, we got to win the Lombardi this year with Aaron, right? Where Kyle, I mean, they're the lowest seed alive for a reason.
Right. Well,
which, like you said, once you're there, you're not thinking like that. You're going to try to win the game. But at home, one thing I think, when you're at a game, and basically an NFL playoff game is a game 7 in baseball or basketball, and you are the home team that's better, like when the Warriors played LeBron at home game 7, or some of these baseball games when you're the home team, and you find yourself down, and you got the MVP, you've been the hype team, you just start getting a little nervous. If it's game 2 or whatever in the series, not that big. You got room to breathe. Football is not that way. Like, what if it's 13-7 at half, and you're like, God, we look off. You just you can feel the pressure in the place. I don't give a shit how cold it is. Well, the Niners got to play well to create that pressure, but you have a pitch that you can create just a tense environment, which it just happened in Dallas. Now it's different. I mean, Green Bay, they're going to have more confidence as a fan because you got Rodgers, but you find yourself down as the game goes. You just get nervous. I felt nervous watching the game last week of just like, this is final. If you win, or this is over if you lose. I understand why Cowboy fans are so mad. You're like, well, fuck, we're 12-5 and the season just ends. We have a home playoff game. I get it.
Yeah, but the playoffs and the regular season are two entirely different things. What you did in the regular season is completely irrelevant by the time we get to the play. Not everything, but some of the things that teams do in the the Chiefs were on cruise control this year. Don't tell me anything about Mahomes. He is every bit what everybody thought he is. And now they're in the playoffs, and now let's see.
I actually think, though, they were on cruise control, and then it kind of got dicey, and they kind of woke up, and they started eviscerating folks.